Everybody
Ready?
Okay.
Okay.
Kick her off.
Well, good morning. I'm County Judge Peter Sakai. I want to welcome everybody to the Office of the County Judge. Today is October the 4th, and I have asked for this press conference in order to recognize an important event coming up, and that is an election on November 5th. This past week, our elections office has announced that a record 1.28 million Bexar County residents have registered to vote as of this past Monday, and those numbers obviously will continue. That is the most ever at this time. The last number was 1.19 million for the last presidential election in 2020. So obviously, this election has generated an excitement, and I want to applaud all those, either campaigns, candidates, and Bexar County in making sure that we have made a valid outreach to those to register to vote, which is the first step in our democratic process. And so the other dynamic that I want to bring to everyone's attention is the certain deadlines and the requirements. And then I will conclude with my call to action that we need now everybody to go vote. And I'm hoping that we'll have an all-time turnout for the November 5th election. So let's go over some of the details so that the public understands their duties and responsibilities, what they have to do. For those that are last-minute registers, you have till Monday, October 7th, 5 p.m. Those registrations need to be postmarked in order to vote for the November election. Also, too, our elections administrator has asked that these registrations be returned to the local elections office so that they can be promptly processed. One thing that we have done for this election, Bexar County has approved, and we have wanted to assure access to those that may have disabilities, such as the deaf community. We have 5 locations for deaf voters to get extra assistance, 1 in each precinct and 1 in the downtown area. The nonprofit group DeafLink will have sign language interpretation through video at each location. And I'm very pleased and proud that we have partnered with a nonprofit community that will help provide access, especially for those that are hearing impaired. Early voting starts October 21st to November 1st. We will have 51 locations, which is 3 more than 4 years ago for early votes. And I would encourage everyone, in order to avoid the lines and the confusion on Election Day, to please vote early. October 25th is the deadline to apply for a mail-in ballot. And so I want to encourage those that have to have access to mail-in ballot. You have a deadline of October 25th. A reminder that Election Day, what we call E-Day, is November 5th. And so if we have the most registered voters, I would hope and predict that we'll have the most voter turnout for this November 5th election. And to avoid those long lines, certainly I want you to go vote, but I would also ask that you consider by voting early and to do the early vote that we have tried to make convenient for all community and all citizens. Also, too, I'm pleased that Bexar County did participate in the registration of voters. As you know, in prior action of the court, we asked that the nonpartisan group Civic Government Solutions be retained in order to register 210,000 voter registration applicants to unregistered Bexar County citizens who have recently moved in. I don't have a absolute conclusion as to whether this voter turnout is a result of these actions, but also understand that we want to make sure in our democratic society that we are preserving the right to vote. And so my final ask of our community is that now that you are registered, or hopefully will register by the deadline, do one more step, and that is to go vote. We have elections. Elections have consequence. I think we have national and local elections that will have real political consequence. And so no matter what your political party is, Democrat, Republican, or third party, I want you to go vote. I want people to recognize that their power is through their voice, through their vote. And so all this effort to register does not come to fruition if people don't go vote. So today, Friday, the October 4th, I'm asking everybody to do their constitutional, their duty to have their voice heard. Never underestimate or understate the power of your voice through your vote. So that concludes. If I'll open up to questions.
Judge, does the Attorney General appear to be done with any kind of election challenges here in Bexar County?
I have no idea what the Attorney General is going to do in regards to the lawsuit that challenged us in regards to the contract. Those are the lawyers that are involved in that. The lawsuit is still ongoing, and there, I believe, are some motions pending. It is my understanding that the hearing at this process, the case is now being asked to be moved to federal court. And we will hopefully get a decision from federal court as to whether they're going to take up this case in their court system.
Why do you think the Attorney General filed that lawsuit? You seen alternative motives on his part?
I have no idea what his ulterior motives are, but his legal motives was to shut down our registration, for which I pushed back. I have clearly stated that this was in regards to the rule of law. We had sought an opinion, we had an opinion, we did the research. What we did in order to register a voter was valid and legal. The Attorney General respectfully disagrees, and that's what the court hearing is all about. And we'll see whether we follow through or not. Right now, those registrations, as you know, went out, and I believe as a result of today's announcement, I believe it's a result of the efforts that the county has made to make sure people's voices are heard on this November election.
Could it also be that we're seeing some real close elections in Texas? Republicans are seeing some very tightening elections.
The polling says this is a tough race throughout national politics, state politics, and local politics. There are elections that will have a lot of political consequence. And that's the reason why I want the public, I want the voters to understand they have the power to express their voice on those issues that are important to them. Let me ask some other questions. Let's go to this side.
Go ahead. When do you anticipate the county will post the elections administrative job?
Oh, as far as the replacement for Jackie Callanan? We are in the process. I may have to double check with staff, but the county is going to hire a national search firm. I believe that national search firm has been identified. We have asked the members of the Elections Commission to review the qualifications and the resume. We do have a national search firm that has been potentially identified that has a lot of credibility and has a lot of work in this area. So we are confident that we're going to have a highly qualified, hopefully a very diverse pool of applicants for our election administrator. Let's not fool. I mean, I want the public to understand that I have full faith in our local elections administrator and the elections office. I have no doubt that the elections administration office has voter integrity, that she protects the sanctity and the confidentiality and the legality, that she is double checking all these registrations that are coming in. Also understand that the Secretary of State also has to review every registration that's coming in. So I am confident, at least in Bexar County, that we will have an election that has an integrity and that will have no fraud or whatever allegations people want to make of our current system. And so in regards to elections administrator, Brooke, we certainly have to have an administrator hopefully on by the early next year, January. Jackie's agreement was to stay into that position. If for some reason I would have to confer with her if she would just perhaps hold on till we find the right candidate and the best qualified candidate. The elections administrator job is probably one of the toughest jobs in this country. And I don't envy anybody who would take that job, understanding I still need somebody that will make sure that the law is followed and that there is always voter integrity. Cannot have unfortunately, the attacks on our system and have people not have faith. We will have people not vote if they have no faith in our voting system. And in Bexar County, so long I'm county judge, I'm going to demand and expect voting integrity. I'm not going to tolerate fraud or inappropriate conduct that perhaps is being alleged. Next question.
Judge, if it weren't for the lawsuit, would you hire Civic Government Solutions again to employ the same tactics that you guys used this year in order to get?
Well, just like I do for any initiative or contract we sign, at the conclusion of this election, I am going to want an assessment. One of the expectations that we gave CGS was that we wanted some metrics, analytics, we wanted the data. I want to know for the money we spent, how many votes they have identified that perhaps they had a proprietary database. And so they know who they reached out to. And so I'm expecting CGS, the nonpartisan vendor, to come back and say, Judge, these are the voters that we think registered as a result of our mail out. And then we'll look at that. I'm confident that the 1.28 million people that have registered to vote to this day will increase. And we will have another number to give you when registration stops on Monday at 5 o'clock.
Judge, can you talk about election security? In 2020, there were, of course, threats. I think Jackie said there's only been threats now. I think some guy with a gun got in somehow when they were counting votes or something in 2020. Can you talk about security at the elections office and at polling sites on election day?
The threats to the election system as a whole is problematic. Unfortunately, we have people that have made threats. Some of the incidents you have mentioned may not have been a direct attack on the elections. It was just some crazy situation that occurred at the elections office. I will tell you that Jackie Callanan, as elections administrator, is in direct contact with the Office of Emergency Management. She's in direct contact with our Bexar County Sheriff's Department. She is in direct contact with the national organization, I don't have their name, that is also in charge of making sure that our elections officers and office are secure. And so I have instructed, since I have taken over as county judge, that we make sure that the premises at our local elections office on Freer Road is secure. Cameras, fencing, and additional security. And so I am confident that our local authorities, the sheriff, and especially our Office of Emergency Management, we also have to be, excuse me, we also have to be prepared that we have to also be ready for any cyber attack that may happen. And that's why Office of Emergency Management is involved, and we have to just be prepared to protect our voting system and that election day. So voting has become a very difficult process for everybody. And so I beg the public for patience in regards when it comes to returns and trying to answer questions. Obviously, our elections office is being swamped, and I know Ms. Callanan has made it clear that she perhaps needs some additional staffing, and my office is working hand in hand with Jackie to make sure she gets the resources she needs in order to run an election timely and with full integrity.
So
Next question.
So correct me if I'm wrong. So you believe that the voter registration is, of course, locked down and protected, but it's voting actually that you have concerns about?
No, I mean, we have concerns for the whole process. I want to make sure the county staff, including Jackie Callan as elections administrator, that she is safe, or she at least feels safe. And unfortunately, because of some of the crazy rhetoric that is going on in our community and in our country, sometimes I'm very fearful of what could happen to our elections administrator or office. And so that's the reason why I have directed Office of Emergency Management for the county, and I've asked Sheriff Salazar to make sure that our voting system is protected. And at least we have the ability to maneuver whatever is necessary to protect the system.
Will there be at least one officer or one deputy at every voting booth in the city?
That is something that Jackie Callanan has, understanding that we need to be very careful about overstating the security. I don't want the impression that people will be fearful to go to the polls. So yes, I'm demanding security, but I also don't want to create a military state for our voting sites. And I will push back when people say, we need to have all these law enforcement officers. We want law enforcement officers to be prepared for any threats or calls that are for their assistance. So as far as how law enforcement, the sheriff will handle, I'll let his office, I will let my Office of Emergency Management, and I will let Jackie Callahan as elections administrator to figure that out. I'll let them, they are the experts to how to protect the polls.
And are you comfortable with cybersecurity like we were talking about? Do you think it'll be all good?
We're always concerned every day about cybersecurity. I cannot understate how devastating cybersecurity attacks are. And understanding that's a complex issue. I don't know who's doing what. There's these allegations that it could be from foreign countries and people that are really trying to disable our American democratic process. And so I can't understate the fact that cybersecurity, and that's the reason why I'm really proud that UTSA is, as an educational system, is the #1 educational academic system for cybersecurity. So as you know, the military has now moved a lot of the cybersecurity operations over there to the Port SA. So cybersecurity is a whole different issue, and we can talk about that at another time.
Judge, is this the first time that the Office of Emergency Management will be working with elections, or is that happening?
That's been ongoing,
Okay.
but it's I have directly. My office has had direct conversations with Office of Emergency Management and the Sheriff's Department to make sure that Ms. Callahan's office and herself are protected, and that if she makes the calls for assistance, that they be prompt and they provide whatever assistance she needs. And obviously on election day, we'll have to make sure that the polling sites are also protected too.
Judge, going back to CGS, you guys didn't send 1 million plus voter registration forms. I believe the number was closer in the hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, 210,000.
Yeah, so why do you see the correlation between the 210,000 that were sent and the 1.2?
Oh, no, I'm not, no. 1.28, there, for one, the bulk of that was probably residents that regularly and consistently vote. I'm just talking about the incremental, that in 2020, it was 1.19. And so, and obviously, we're not taking, nor am I saying that this particular nonpartisan vendor takes all the credit. No, you have candidates and campaigns that are also registered voters. But I think as a collaboration and as a collaborative effort and a coordinated effort, we have increased the vote. And I think that's significant. That tells you that Bexar County is paying attention. Bexar County is going to vote, and that's why today's press conference is important. We've registered, now go vote. And that's my message for today.
Judge, do you think we'll have over 1 million voters?
I hope so. I would be tickled pink if we had 100% participation.
With some non-governmental agencies feeling the need to create some websites to create easier access to Bexar County voter information and election information, could you speak to what the county is doing to meet the young voters or potential voters that are coming into the voting block?
Well, we have partnered up with some nonprofit, nonpartisan Youth Do Vote. I was in a conference over at Trinity University where local high school students were invited, and we pretty much had a full auditorium of high school students at Trinity University last week, and I spoke. And we had, I believe, Heather Eichling is the executive director, and I believe we have supported her, and I believe the county supported her in financial assistance for this nonpartisan event at Trinity University. Trinity University was also a partner. And that's what I'm asking the community to do. Let's all come together in a nonpartisan way, and let's get people to vote. And I'm hoping that I'm really confident that the young people are part of this new registered process. And I'm really pleased to see the numbers going up. Now, let's get them all to turn out. I'd be tickled pink if we had 100% voting turnout in November.
Are there, sorry to bring it back, are there teams of people working on cybersecurity?
What's that?
Are there teams of people working on cybersecurity?
No, I'll be honest, and specifically on elections, you'd have to, those are kind of internal discussions. I'd have to refer to Ms. Callanan, but I will tell you from a Bexar County Information System, our BCIT department, cybersecurity is one of the biggest expenditures we are spending on our IT side is how do we protect our whole information system, including elections. And so we have to, as you know, I mean, this gets into this area that I don't have an expertise in regards to cybersecurity, but I understand we have to constantly be vigilant every day. We get training here. I as a county judge have to go through training so that I don't open up a malware or those inappropriate phishing. I don't even know the words. All I know is that people are constantly trying to attack our system. And they have warned us and trained us how not to open up inappropriate emails. And that's also another press conference I can call. Let's be careful about our cybersecurity.
Judge, I believe Jackie has said in the past that we have a total closed election system. We're not directly connected to the internet, is that correct?
Correct. And that's why you see that's why this election process is, in some ways, is so bulky, because all those voting machines are separate. They're not tied into some mainframe. And so all those pollings are protected. We have those paper ballots that are the backup. And then, as I understand, they all come back in and they all get tabulated and then run, and that's how we get our results in a very efficient way. So people need to recognize if they want their results, we have to rely on our current system, although there are voices out there that would like to change that. I'm confident, and I want people to understand, as county judge, I am totally confident in our local elections administrator and our elections office. We will run a clean, good election, and I just need people to now go vote.
One last question.
They're expecting about 900,000 people to go vote in this election. Talk about the importance of early voting and what people can expect on election day if they don't early vote.
Well, as it's happened in the past, if you don't go early vote, and I recognize there are some people, especially seniors, that are they feel it's their constitutional right to get up in the morning, walk to the polls or get to the polls and go vote for their candidates of their choices. But I am going to encourage, in light of what we anticipate, a nearly 1 million voters coming out in Bexar County, there's going to be some long lines on, November 5th, the election day. And I feel for those, especially seniors or people who have disabilities, it can deter voting. I mean, people could walk off the voting line if they see it's too long. And that's the reason why I am asking people to consider early voting. Please go vote. It's convenient. We got over 51 locations. We've increased those locations. We've tried to make them convenient. I have really personally looked at all the polling sites to make sure that areas are all covered. There has been criticism that certain areas are not covered in early vote. And so I've pushed hard to increase, and Jackie did increase the early voting sites for the early voting polls. And so what we need to do is take advantage of the convenience